What's going on, everybody? LK here. Today I want to share a few things that I think make you like fighting game pills. An even better way of putting this would be like fighting game player mental biases, cognitive biases. Maybe I'm using that wrong. The first one would be, and I do this all the time, I constantly tell myself to not do this, especially when like I review my games and stuff. You think your opponent knows what you know by default. This helps and hurts you at the same time. It helps you because when you go for stuff, you'll go for like safer things that may not be as vulnerable because you know, oh, if I do this, there's like this huge gap or this thing's punishable or something like that. But you can't always do that, like not all the time, especially if you're not playing like a broken character. You do have to take risks and overextend every now and then and get an idea of how much does your opponent actually know about your playstyle and your character. This is one that I mess up a lot. There's a little bit of recency bias in fighting games sometimes, so like people are like, oh, like okay, just picks like bad characters, but almost every character I played is like a top tier or close to top tier. So when you play a really strong character, you can just play super safe anyway, but when you play like a weaker character, you have to overextend sometimes and take more risks. The opponent has to show you that they know what you know. This also really affects you in mirrors as well. So this is the reason why I tell myself this a lot, is when I'm learning a mirror match, the number one problem I have when I'm starting a mirror match, that I think my opponent is gonna do stuff that I would do. And I have to be like, nah, it always takes me a little while to get over this one. So number two, this is a hard one. This one for me, it took me like a few years, maybe like 3 years to get over this. And I'm sure many of you have this one. Number two is you think the player is a bad person because they play a character you don't like. Okay, so let me explain. So we play, I use a lot of fun, flowery adjectives like violent games, violent characters, right? We call characters like BS and all. In the end, we are playing video games against each other, competitive video games, but we are playing video games, and it sounds silly, especially if you're not really deep into competitive gaming and stuff, but you have to separate the human you're playing against from their character. No matter what the memes, you know, like there's in BlazBlue we had a really long running meme of like, you don't shake an Arakune player's hand and stuff. Every fighting game has memes like that where there's like one character where people are like, oh, this is a scumbag character. But you do have to remember that it's just the character, and that's just what the character does, and it's okay. It took me a while to get over this because just the communities weren't connected. You know, when I was starting fighting games, there wasn't like rollback or anything. You're pretty isolated from other regions, so it was way easier. This is like some war shit, by the way, but it was way easier to think of players from different regions as like just the other, like, you know, like the enemy, because you don't interact with them very much. But in today's FGC, like, since you can play like anyone on the continent pretty easily, I feel like the communities are more connected, or at least interact more than they used to. Maybe for other people they get over this really quickly, but I feel like this one is a really common one. So the next one, if you're a Smash player, you've definitely heard of this. If you're a fighting game player, maybe you have this, and if you do, you gotta fix it. So it's a little bit of a fighting game players / Smash players, I'm truly a Smash player's logic here. It goes like this: I beat you, okay? You beat someone else. That means I can definitely beat that other person. If you think like that, you have a problem. You need to fix that. That's not how that works. I want to say, especially because of like the way fighting games are now and like how they're designed now, but like that's just not how that works, bro. Like, you gotta play the other person first. There's so many factors that could go into how a match against somebody should go. I tend to not set expectations for my set for like tournaments and stuff. This can raise your expectations, which will make you underestimate that person, which could cause you to drop games maybe. If it sounds weird to you, then you're in a good spot. If you do this, you need to fix this. So number four is a kind of a two-parter, like a connected one. It is, I'm a higher rank than I actually am, and I know what's going on specifically because of my rank. It's interesting. Ranked matters and also doesn't matter at the same time. So the most important thing as far as like how good you are, I don't know if I want to say like how good you are, but an easy way to reflect how you're doing as far as like your level in the game would be to compete. You don't have to. You could be like a strong player fighting games without competing in tournaments, but I always find it that when players are starting, one of the things they'll lead with is like, I'm this rank, so blah 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 blah. Or like for Guilty Gear, what you'd hear is like, oh well, I'm like 1800 ELO, so blah blah blah. Or look me up on rating update. It doesn't matter that much, really. Like, you should be able to speak with just like good reasoning and not like flex your rank to be like, I'm right because I'm this rank. It kind of happens on both sides with this, but if you do this, you gotta fix that. you gotta fix that. Just use good proper reasoning and you'll be fine. And the last one, and this is one many people do. For Guilty Gear, might get people a little annoyed, but when you say this character is broken, but you neither practice against the character nor do you lab the character. So for me, it's annoying that like one, just saying something is broken lazily, like I know that's the word we use for very strong. I've just talked about this in other videos about like we gotta pick what words we use when we're talking about the game seriously and what we think should be done, like what's the state of the game, stuff like that. But I think it's even worse when people don't practice or lab counterplay against stuff. I will say in Guilty Gear, it's not so bad. It was really bad in Dragon Ball. This was like my ultimate pet peeve about playing Dragon Ball, because there's always some pay to win shit that like people would not practice against, but then they would just complain about it. And even though it was really good, I'm like, it's not like ruining the game type thing. And then you would show the examples too. That's the thing. You could show examples to people and they'll just be like, well, I can't beat it, so it's broken. Or when people also say like the fact that you need to know all this stuff to fight this makes it broken, that also makes me roll my eyes. Like, of course you gotta learn how to fight other characters. People have to learn how to fight your characters too. It's way more prevalent in, or it was way more prevalent in Dragon Ball than Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear has it like a little bit, but not so bad. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. These are fighting game players' biases, cognitive biases. Your fighting game build. I thought of these really easily, by the way. I was like, man, yeah, there's so many examples when we were talking about it. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.